Gabby Reece, I am so outrageously honored and excited to have you on the show. A lot of people might not know this, but we went to the same college. We both went to Florida State University, but I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, which is where Florida State is. So I actually grew up as a little girl seeing you on the cover of not only Sports Illustrated, but Florida State Magazine. And so this is it feels like a really special moment for me to get to dive into you. Little Emily is like doing jumping jacks and cartwheels, and adult Emily is so outrageously inspired by everything that you've created as an athlete, as a mother, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, and as an advocate for your own health, and now as an advocate for people's health. And I feel really excited to talk about this concept of why isn't everyone making their health a priority? And this is something that is sort of mandated when you're an athlete. I was on Broadway for 10 years. And so, your health it's mandated. If you're going to sing and dance and act for a living, like your body becomes your instrument. So it's sort of, we had to become our own biohackers before biohacking was even a word. But I'm so curious, like, because you've been in this game of mental, physical, spiritual wellness for a while. And is there like one thing, like if you were on everyone says if you were going to a desert island, you could take one thing with you. If there was one practice, like everything else goes away, but you have one health practice that you can take with you, is there one that you would choose above all others? And I know that's a terrible question because it's an ecosystem, but like what's been the most impactful in your journey?
It's interesting. I think the linear part of me, would look at it practically and say, 6 months ago, I would have said, well, I just access to some decent food and water. Um, and then I would say what has really kind of resurfaced as a reminder has been really spending time outside and looking at the sunlight.
Mm.
And so even though it seems so simple because it's readily available, I think the notion of light kind of setting us, through our eyes, setting our brains, setting our melatonin, circadian rhythm. I think we could do a lot of things right, but if we aren't kind of setting ourselves up to benefit from all these right practices, whether it be food and movement and all these things, that we're really missing a pretty huge opportunity and low hanging fruit, and one that actually we probably couldn't be overall successful if we didn't in fact incorporate it. So, it's either that or it's a teammate, because I have found that having the right person on the island would help me adhere to all the practices.
And do you feel like your teammate is your husband? And how long have you been married now?
I have been married for 27 years and together with Laird for 29. So 28 and 30 this year. I mean, obviously he's a motivating, huge force in my life, but I just mean, like, I have people that I train with I don't hang out with them. So it's literally, it's easy having him because it is built in, but I just mean for anyone, it's like having that right person that either pushes you up when you're low energy. Um, you have the ability, you're inspired to do the same for them. Because what I have learned is it's really difficult to do all of this on your own. And it doesn't have to be a lover or a partner, right? Even
Mm.
if it's just that one person that they're going to be there at 8 when you say we're going to show up at 8. And so I don't want to wrap it in, well, it's got to be your partner. It could just be that person that they bring out that best side of you and you can get it done.
So does that mean like you have a teammate for personal training, you have a teammate for chefing, you have a teammate at your company, like just that you have the right partner for the right activity? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think, listen, I think I have a benefit of being with Laird who I can kind of weave in and out of all of that with. But
Mhm.
certainly you have those relationships in your business life. Um, very few of my girlfriends, a couple of them, but do I really train with? But they're the ones that I could share anything with. And so it's for me, it's understanding the value of finding those people, those teammates in those places, because not only do they make you better, um, but I think it's the only way to get through all of it. It's like,
Yeah.
if you're an entrepreneur, or you're in a business, you need those people. They know more than you. They're there to fill the gaps that you're not good at. Um, you can trust them. Like, it's all of that. And then it's the same personally, talking about personal things where maybe they're just safe to talk to and they hear you out. They don't solve all your problems, but you know that it can die with them, and you can just say it and have that space to work it out. And certainly in training, it's somebody who stays curious, and in most days is like, I'm here to get it done. It doesn't mean everybody's like, yay, rah, rah, every second. It just means I'm here. When I come in, I'm here to get it done, because I really have seen that that's kind of half the deal.
The commitment to doing it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not, people think I must love training, or I'm just excited and it's so easy for me. It isn't. It's just that I have made the decision a long time ago that that was going to be part of the practice, and I would get it done. And the other thing people don't realize is, when you come from sports, a lot of times you don't feel good. Your body's beat up. If you're on Broadway and you're doing this and that, it's like, hey, listen, you're beat up. And so I guess the reminder to people is, nobody ever really feels like it. They just know that it's valuable, and they like the way they feel when it's done. And you string enough years together and you sort of understand the benefits because you've experienced it yourself. And but you don't fly out of bed like, oh, I can't wait to squat today or sprint on the whatever. It's like, no,
Yeah, I think I never wanna get in the cold plunge, like, never, ever.
no.
And then there's the value in, like, feeling that resistance and being like, "I am stronger than my resistance." And then that psychological resilience goes with you beyond the physical training or the ice plunge. And I would say certainly with meditation, like, I'm meditating now 16 years every day, twice a day, and what people are like, "Oh, same." Like, "Emily, you must love meditation. It must be so easy for you." I'm like, "No, it is boring." And I wanna keep scrolling through social media too. And, like, I also am addicted to things, and then I just do it. And I think it sounds like for me, you've made like an identity shift. Like, I am a person who trains no matter what, and I have an identity shift. Like, I meditate no matter what. It's just who I am. So there's no negotiating. Was there a time for you where that shifted, where you're just like, oh, like, I am a person who eats well and moves my body, and that there's no negotiating there?
Yeah, I think they came at different times. I think the movement piece came in really early because it was inspired by athletics.
Hmm.
So you're not going to let your teammates down. You're not going to embarrass yourself. You want to win. It's all the myriad of reasons what your original why is. And what I say is, once you experience injury, you have a whole other appreciation for just being able to walk across the room and feel good. And you think to yourself, oh, wait a second, I don't want to learn this hard lesson by not doing my best to take care.
Yeah.
And so the physical part came early, probably, let's say by 21, because in college you're just you're more punching a card. You're being told what to do by your coaches, and you do want to win. So you're not really analyzing for yourself, like, why am I doing all this? You're like, oh, I have to do this so I can play my game and be on my scholarship and try to win. And then it
Hmm.
becomes maybe a little more meaningful. And then the food probably really showed up more a little bit later, probably in the realer way, 26 or 27. I think I was aware of food, but I was still doing things like carbo loading and thinking, bagels were empty calories that I can burn, instead of understanding like the glycemic index of something once you eat it. So I think that came a little bit later, at 26 or 27. And then it's the shift on that. It's not that I can't eat. I can eat whatever I want. It's just that I choose to eat certain things, and sort of also shifting that, because I didn't want to create another barrier to feeling restricted,
Hmm.
and making this like a restrictive thing versus, well, what are the things that I would choose that would support me in what I say are my goals, whether it's to feel good, to be energized, to sleep well, to manage inflammation, to be strong, whatever the goals are. So am I doing those things that support that desire? And so I really tried to always couch it that way, because I think the minute we make anything restrictive, that's kind of all we can think about.
Oh, that's really helpful. And I think especially in a culture where like women are often on diets or making themselves small or trying to fit themselves into some like idea of what we're supposed to be, that feels almost like this radical reclamation of like, I am doing this for my mental health, for my spiritual health, for my longevity. And then it's just like the motivation and the intention is everything, right? So it's like and I think the intention really matters. And I have a 6-year-old son, and right now he's dealing with an autoimmune issue. He's dealing with PANS.
Hmm.
And so, food is really important. And like the gut inflammation and the brain inflammation is such a big deal. And so it's really tricky. And I'm very open to your counsel here, because I know that you very much treat, you focus on superfoods and wanting people to prioritize their health. And I don't want, and I feel like I'm being the food police a lot of times. I'm like, buddy, like we don't want to eat gluten. We don't want to eat dairy. We don't want to eat sugar. And it's like, I don't know how to instill in him
Mm.
this idea of like vegetables are good for you when
Yeah.
also a sign of PANS is like super restrictive eating. And
Mm.
I'm curious, because you're a mom, you have kids, and you're a health advocate. Do you have any like pro tips for those of us out here fighting the good fight, trying to keep the poison out of our children's mouths?
Yeah, I know. It's so tricky.
Have you ever had a moment where nature just drops the exact message you need exactly when you need it? Maybe it's a reminder to slow down. Maybe it's a fresh perspective on something you've been stuck on, or just the perfect nudge to help you embody your highest self. Well, that is what I want to give you every single week, a dose of Ziva straight from my heart to yours. When you sign up for my emails, you're going to get first access to the downloads that are coming straight into my heart, access to science-backed tools to help you stress less and feel more alive. You're going to get a sneak peek into my personal practice and all the perks that we only share with our Ziva insiders. You're going to get podcast announcement and exclusive offers and invitation to our events before anyone else. And because I love a good thank you gift, if you sign up right now, you're going to get a special welcome gift just for signing up, and it's totally free. It just might be the very best thing you do for yourself today. So you can go to the link in the show notes or go to zivameditation.com/whythis to get a beautiful welcome gift and to receive these transmissions from my heart to yours every single week. So head to zivameditation.com/whythis, and I will see you in your inbox.
I think with especially like a young boy, we used to do these talks at schools, and we'd say, oh, like if your grandma was taking you to school or your mom and she needed to get gas, they'd go to the gas station, and what would they put in the car? And you'd be like, oh, M&Ms. And the kids would be like, no. And you'd be like, oh, potato chips. Yeah, yeah, potato chips. And they'd be like, no. And so what we would get them to understand is, like, you're a machine, right? And your
Mhm.
machine can go fast, it can drive cars, it can fly planes, it can go in rockets, but you just have to put that right fuel in the machine and make it more playful in this way of, the miracle that is our body is almost like you're a superhero, right? Like, it runs 24 hours a day. It's pretty silent. It can do all kinds of stuff. And I think it's so easy to just kind of take it for granted, all the systems that are what's happening and the cooperation that happens within the body. So I think for young kids, it's just being like, you're this incredible machine. And so these are the fuels, the fuel that will really support you jumping higher and being faster and, being all these things. And these other things, they'll slow you down. And I
Mhm.
think, the tricky thing is what I used to think about with my girls is, it's like that stuff is their currency when they're young, right? Like snacks and toys, like that's like their currency.
You mean like how much of it can I get? How much of it, like I'm
Yeah, like you're
negotiating, or
trading, and it's like that's what their currency is when you're
Mhm.
little. So that's
Like
why besides that it's good and addicting, it's fun, it's colorful, you can trade it, you can give it to a friend and be, like that's what you get as a treat at a birthday party. It's like this currency. And
Mhm.
so I think if they can get a relationship with the power side, like instead of like, oh, we can't eat that, it's like, man, when we eat these foods, we will be powerful. And keep
Mhm.
emphasizing driving towards versus running away from. 'cause it's
Yeah.
just our human instinct, right? Like, it's like, "Hey, don't look over here, don't look over here, don't look over." It's like, well, that's all you wanna do. And
Yeah.
they're n why would they be different?
Yeah.
Um, and I think no matter what, it's a constant dance. The only thing different also I did with my kids is, even if it's for later, is I always used to say, "What's food and what's fun?" And so them
Um,
also to grow up with this understanding of, I put this in my mouth and I, chew it and swallow it, but this is actually fun, you know?
yeah.
And,
I
"Oh, this
love
over
that.
here though, this is food." And so also just for them to have an understanding of, a fried, triple fried, something, something sandwich, is still, it moves over from food and goes into fun. And just kind of empowering and playing a game and being like, "Hey, for every fun thing, we wanna eat 10 things that are food. So let's have a game. Like, is this food or fun? What do you think?" You know?
I love that. And then neither one is judgment, right? It's like
Oh,
food is fuel and
yeah.
fun is fun. And that's
Yep.
very Ayurvedic, right? Like in Ayurveda, it's 80% we eat to live and 20% we live to eat,
Right.
right? Where it's like, yeah, have fun, enjoy the treats, like let it be joyful.
Yeah.
And I think that because I can feel myself sort of violating my own rules of like, I've been quite restrictive because of this like diagnosis. And I
Mhm.
made like a whole kids meditation training, which is like, hey, parents, like treat the meditation as a superhero tool. Like your kids,
Yeah.
whatever they love doing, if they love soccer, meditation is gonna make them better at soccer. If they love debate, meditation is gonna make them better at debate. And I feel like I've gotten a little blindsided in my own parenting.
Well, listen, as parents, we're not objective. How can we be?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. And so it makes a lot of sense, but maybe it's the more you can, even though he's 6, can you in a controlled way, give him as much power as possible and say, "Okay, buddy, like, we're gonna really go for our food, and what do you choose as your food today,
Yeah.
your fuel for your rocket ship that is you? And okay, we've covered the basis. So what is your choice? If there, is needs to be one on the, what are you going to choose as your fun?" And so there's still a kind of a fence around it, but they still are feeling the freedom. And I've noticed with young people that in time they do want less of it, because they intuitively, if they eat enough of the food and the fuel, they know they feel better. They know they feel satisfied, especially if we can get on it early, and
Hmm.
they'll be okay. But for you to say, "Oh, I'm being, dogmatic about it," of course, you're his mom. You're his mom. And I always say that sometimes with my girls, they'll be like, "Oh, da da da," and I go, "Yes, I understand, but my role in your life, and right now you only have one, is I'm your mom." And so that's kind of part and parcel. It's kind of normal. Like
Yeah.
the buck stops at you. Who else is going to be on this other than you and his dad? So, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it because it's like empowering that the food or fuel and fun is really really empowering, and like just to let the guilt off of like, yeah, of course, like I am the rule maker right now, and so and I am concerned about his inflammation in his little brain and his gut, and it's real. And I think that for so many of us, we're like swimming in processed foods, we're swimming in genetic engineering, we're swimming in like all these things that, and it's, I think over time with, regulations and big agra and pharma and just the whole mix of all of it, it's like the dial has just gotten turned up and up and up on our toxic load, on the inflammation, on the food, the fact that food is not food. And so I'm assuming that the external factors have something to play here in your role. But you said like this is my thing that I'm like lit up. Like, why isn't everyone making health a priority? Like, I get that for you personally, as an athlete, an entrepreneur, and a mom, but like what is the drive to spread this to the world? Like why should everyone be making health a priority?
Well, first off, I will say I'm never here to tell anyone what to do. It's the invitation,
Hmm.
but I always feel like if I could be a good soldier, then I should, right? And so we're all here, and we all need to participate in our world that we live in. We need to contribute in some way. And I often think that we can do
And be
that.
on Team Earth, Team Human.
Yeah, team human is the best way to do that, is to do it in a way that genuinely reflects who you are, your skill set, what you're interested in, the things you've invested time in. There's a lot of other things that I admire that I would love to rah for, but I'm not good at them. I haven't invested years in that. I'm not the right person for that. And so I think that this is an overflow of, I've reaped the benefits of it coming through sports, and it continued by marrying Laird and then creating businesses around the space and having access and talking to people who are really good at what they do and smart, and who've helped me if I've gotten hurt or injured, or who've taught me about certain modalities or certain nutritional things. And so I often think, for me, it just makes sense that I can be a good soldier and make the invitation to people of, this feels pretty important. And what are the things we can take away that are keeping you from making that your quest? Because I've had the luxury to spend more time on it. People who have a
Mhm.
9 to 5 job and they're running around and they're sitting in a desk and they're chasing 3 kids. Maybe they haven't had that same luxury. And even though I have 3 kids and those stuff, it was and is part of my job. And
Mhm.
so I think that that's just a way that I can be, a good participant, and try also in a nonverbal way to be an example. Because I can talk blah 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 all day long, but if at the end of the day you look at me and you think, okay, well, Gabby's 55. You could go back 30 years. Overall, my message is pretty consistent. Of course, hopefully I've matured and tweaked some stuff and changed some stuff, but it's been a pretty strong through line in my life, that it'd be like, huh, well, let's take a look at that. And it doesn't mean do it my way. Ultimately, we mentioned this earlier. My ultimate would be that somehow it's a spark that someone goes, I know I don't have a lot of time. I know I don't have a lot of resources to throw at this. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I don't really want to, but maybe I could today start to pick up a thread and figure out a little bit on how to, pursue this as a practice, whether it's
Mm.
better nutritional choices, or finding tools to process stress, or getting to bed a little earlier, or taking a walk after dinner. It's like trying to get people to pick up the thread, because at the end of the day, it's hard to enjoy just about anything if you don't feel good.
Mm.
It is hard. And so I think, like I stated earlier, early injury really taught me that. Even when my skin was perfectly non-wrinkled, I had knee injuries, and I could have had a great partner. And if you're feeling vulnerable or immobile, you don't get to really enjoy the other next things. And
Mhm.
so for me, I was like, oh, this seems like something important to take care of.
Yeah, there's a quote from the Dalai Lama that's like, we'll spend all of our time making money, and then all we wish is that we had good health and time, and like
Yeah. Well, and then we
I'm very
spend
much
all our
there.
money looking for health.
Right.
And
Right.
I think the measurement is reminding people, first of all, how amazingly adaptable the body is. So you could feel a certain way today on this day, and with slow, small changes, because you can't change everything over. I would never encourage anyone to do a 180 unless there was a really specific reason, because it's not achievable. That you'd be surprised how quickly. And what happens is, emotionally, is we don't think we can make a difference. We don't think that these little things will actually make a difference, so we give up.
Mm.
And I also find that it isn't about adding more things to do. It's first eliminating the things that are hurting us most, because we're already overwhelmed. So if I say, here, just do these 3 more things, you're like, who's got time for 3 more things? And so it's really that, but it's a tricky dance, and it seems to be trickier.
Well, the thing that I love about the suggestions that you've made, and I hear you that you don't want to be dogmatic or, give anyone a playbook or your playbook, but the things that you've suggested is like, sunshine in your eyeballs is free and available. Getting to bed a little earlier, clean water, eating food that is food and not, I mean, yes, some fun, but like food that is fuel.
Yeah.
Like these things are so simple, and they don't necessarily require a lot of time, but I love the idea of the experiment of like, let me go to bed a little earlier, get a little sunshine in my eyes, choose the food that's fuel, and then see how I feel. And I think, I mean, certainly I am of the ilk of like, I see how quickly people transform because, on day 3 of my meditation training, people are like, the birds are chirping and the sun is shining. And I enjoyed, like, I could taste the apple for the first time in my life and I could feel my eyeshadow applicator across my
Mhm.
eyelid, like silly little things they're present for sometimes the first time in their life because the stress was clouding their perception. And so just this one stress removing tool really shifts the way that they're interacting with reality. And I've had the blessing of witnessing that for 16 years. And so I am like, it's in my cells. I believe in change, not only my own, but I've the people's capacity to change and change quickly. Not even change, it's like heal, right? It's just coming back home to themselves.
And that's it. I think they don't realize often that we are set up to be successful in that way. Our biology is set up to heal ourselves, to defend, to do all these incredible things. And unfortunately, we're just mismatched. We live in a world that's unnatural. So then we don't understand the impulses. And it's like all of it makes sense what you're
Mm,
doing, what we're all doing. I have a guy that I work with, PJ Nestler, and he said, he does a lecture where he's like, listen, your biology is set up to help you survive. It is not set up to help you thrive.
hmm
And once we understand, so when we have the impulse, we don't go, oh, what's wrong with me? It's like, yeah, that's totally normal to want to shove all that in your face
Yeah.
completely or to lay around on the couch because our job is to conserve energy. Makes perfect sense. What are the strategies we can put in place to just override that? Because in the end, if it's not really going to serve us in this world that we live in, where food's readily available at every place, and we're not having to walk from here to there or be up from sun up to sundown dealing with trying to get our food and fortify our environment, okay, then we have to create a backup. And that's all it
hmm
is. Like I love everybody. I don't want to say they've overcomplicated it, but in an effort to make, there's people who make businesses around these things. I'm one of them in a different way. It's also complicated. I don't know that it is. It's become
hmm
complicated. But that's the other thing is how do we simplify it so that day after day we can do it?
hmm I love that. It's like, what's the simple change? What's the micro change? What's the micro habit? And like you said, getting a teammate, right? Another thing that is free, right? You don't have to pay anyone like a friend. And I think there's some stat, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I like to believe that it is that you're 95% more likely to commit to a healthy habit if you have a buddy and a time to check in. And that was to your original thing of like, why don't we have teammates?
And it's values. We've valued accumulation, money, all these things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but we've put it above our
Mhm.
health. And I do think there it gets dicey because it's little steps that all of a sudden you go 20 years and you've really come far away from maybe something that would have served you overall even better.
And what I find is that the people that I admire and the entrepreneurs that I really respect, a lot of them are like body first. They actually like, and as they up level their mental and physical and spiritual health, their businesses expand. And it's like that resilience. It's that,
Mhm.
oh, I am in the driver's seat. And once you prove that you're in the driver's seat of your physiology, then it's like, oh, if I can bend reality inside of myself, then I can bend reality in the external world as well.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of, I'm sure you get to talk about, your health and your wellness and physical things and diet things. But I'm curious, like, about your spiritual practices and your mental. resilience tools. Can you give us a window into maybe some of the more spiritual practices or taboo modalities that you've tried so far?
Sure. In our house, the line "all is mental" is what we adhere to.
Hmm.
I think people forget. We all forget it's all mental, and so
Well, what does that mean to you exactly?
well, I'm going to live in the experience that I'm projecting with my mind, and so we all have experiences, and we all have come through things. And sometimes the temptation, I experience it as well, is to stay in that place. Well, when I was 10 and my father or my mother, it's like I can relate to that. But then there comes a point where you go, oh no, this is really however I see it to be. And that's a hard thing to get around, even bad, challenging things, sad things. Uh, it's all part of it. So I think keeping my mind, my perspective, my ego, all of those things, just checking, being really in constant communication with, hey, where am I at in these places? Because that really drives the ship, certainly more in a certain way than just my body. It's an interesting thing, right? Like you have the microbiome that impacts the brain, the chemistry of the brain. So then you have the brain that is ultimately, in some ways, the leader of the ship. And so my whole thing is, how do I get the brain sort of in the right place to house the spirits that I hope to be?
Mm.
And so it's kind of this funny, complex dance where it's like, well, we're not our bodies. True. We're our spirits, yes, but we can't get there if the chemistry in our brain isn't right, and if that's generated by the gut, and it's all that stuff. So I think for me, it's just doing I kind of do like a survey. Certainly, I'm very good at internal check-ins, very good at it, whether I'm in the car by myself or in a shower. It's really scanning all the time. Is there anything going on with me? Is there something weird I've said or done? Is there something I need to address with another person? Is there an apology that I need to do? Is there something that happened that I didn't like? Like all of it scanning. And it doesn't mean in a hyper way. It just means in those quiet moments, really taking stock in what's all that's going on. And my husband's really the best person at this in the way of, like I say, he pulls the weeds every day. Weeds don't
Mm.
grow. He doesn't brush things under carpets. He's right at it all the time. And so what happens is keeping those decks clear, clearing the decks. It's at times uncomfortable, because then if something shows up, you're like, oh, I have to confront that, whether it's I have to apologize or I need to confront somebody about something. So I use that practice. I meditate a bit in the morning, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes, just sitting and doing that, practicing of noticing thoughts
Hmm.
versus I am my thoughts, just doing my best to try to have that muscle a little bit. So when something's happening, I don't have to connect myself with it all the time,
Hmm.
because I'm very tempted. I'm a very 3D person. I'm a very linear, I'm a Capricorn. Like I am so grounded, I am so of this earth that I have to fight that all the time.
Why do you have to fight it?
Because sometimes when you're too grounded or too, like you can get stuff done and all this stuff, you're not as expansive as you could be.
Hmm.
Sometimes you only get in your life the things that you can, quote, accomplish versus allowing greater things that don't have to do with you to come in.
Like making
And
space for divine support or
yeah,
making space for your spirit to
yeah,
move through you.
something
And
much bigger than me.
yeah.
Right? And that's also by design by me. I had a limiting kind of component, and people wouldn't maybe see it, but even when I played ball or whatever, it's like, hey, I want to be successful and I want to be in pursuit and I want to achieve and I want to do all these things, but not too much. Not like I don't want to be separate. I don't want to have success that then could potentially destroy my real life, my personal life, my real relationships with my husband, with my children. Because I always equated that. That's what I see around me. When someone is too successful, a lot of times I see the collateral damages in the family and in the relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the most important thing to me. And I've known that very early in my life. However, there's no reason maybe you can't do both.
Mm. That to me doesn't sound like a limiting belief. It sounds like a prioritization, right? That you were like, I want to prioritize my personal life. But do you think it limited you?
I do. I do because I always equated it with as something that would destroy. And so it's just a balance. As long
Mm-hmm.
as the things that are happening you feel like are coming from the right places, because that's the other thing, right? Is checking in, like, is do I want to do this simply for attention or for money, or is there a real long-term thing that I'm doing? So I think as long as you have that ability to stay really honest with yourself, even when I work with somebody, like, well, where is this coming, like, where is it coming from? I think it's, if you're checking and being honest with yourself, it'll all work out. But certainly in the beginning, it was a really intense protective mechanism, for I wasn't trusting myself enough to say, well, let's see how successful or how much abundance there can be, because I was so focused on, well, maybe that won't be good for me in turn then, and good for my family or my relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
because nothing's for free. And so I think it's just having, so my practice is, I'm always checking in with myself and trying to really keep everything really clean and clear. And I use exercise as a way to de-stress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say no a lot. I don't go out that much at night. So I go to bed early, family dinners, connecting with the people in my life. So those have been the practices in place that have really helped me manage some kind of equilibrium.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear a little bit more because these are, I'd say, weak points for me. It's funny. There's like a real balance. I'm very connected to the ethereal. I have lots of space for the 5D. So much of my life is putting my attention on the unmanifest. And I'm really working the muscle of saying no, and I'm actively like facing my shadow and
Mm.
hunting for it right now. And so this idea of like clearing the weeds every day is very, I'm like, ooh, tell me more. And so I'd love to just, if you wouldn't mind sharing, and again, not to be a doctor, and I know this is not the way,
Yeah.
but if you would be willing to share a little bit more about like how you do that check-in with yourself, and how do you weed out, like, oh, I need to apologize, or this thing is undone, or that was ambiguous with my language, or I need to say no here. We'd just love to
Hmm.
hear a little bit more about the check-in and the weeding. So, if you have ever thought, I am ready for more out of life, more energy, better sleep, deeper human connection, or simply the ability to handle stress like a total boss, then Ziva is for you. So at Ziva, we combine modern science with ancient wisdom to create tools that actually work. Because stress is costing you much more than you realize. It can steal your focus, drain your energy, and keep you from showing up as the human that you know you're meant to be. That's why over 60,000 high performers, CEOs, athletes, parents have turned to Ziva. Our programs don't just teach you skills, they help you master your life. They help you embody your highest potential. So whether you're brand new to this or ready to take your life and your practice to the next level, the best place to start would be Ziva meditation. So in just 15 minutes a day for 15 days, you're gonna learn a practice that will remove stress from your body and transform the way you feel and function every single day. And right now, I'm gonna give you a gift, 15% off, which you can use at checkout by entering the code WHY THIS. So all you need to do is go to zivameditation.com, find the course that is right for you, because I'm so excited to share these tools with you. I've dedicated my whole life to refining these practices and making them as fun, attractive, and accessible as possible. So go to zivameditation.com and enter the code WHY THIS on the course that feels right for you, and I will see you inside.
I think it starts with being uber deliberate. The thing for me is even words. Like, I can be sarcastic, but I'm not often. Um, It's like even when I'm having fun or being playful or joking around, it's all got to come from a place that that's all it is, right? So
Mhm.
it's first being, I notice my thoughts. Always I'm very, clear about what am I thinking, and then I check to see when I'm speaking, where is that coming from? Is it coming
Mm.
from my brain only? Is it coming from my heart? Or is it coming from a place even of like, I really have something else I want to deal with you, but I'm not. So it's going to come out here.
Yeah.
And so to be really careful that when I say something, it's coming from the place that it needs to, whether it's if I'm being playful, if I'm communicating, and not using, let's say, for example, sarcasm as a way to really get out something that I'm irritated about.
Mhm.
So it starts in
Yeah.
thoughts and how do those thoughts make me feel, and then my words, and then obviously my actions. And when you get attuned to that enough, it's pretty instant where you're like, "Oh, I meant to be a bitch and I was a bitch." And it's inconsistent because I'm using the wrong portal to deliver that. I needed to sit down and have a conversation with somebody and go, "Hey, I've been seeing this. It's frustrating me. I want to talk to you about it," versus a little dagger that just gets thrown over here off to the side that nobody knows what's going on because it doesn't solve anything and it doesn't make me feel good about myself. And so it's just in these ways where you're being brutally honest with yourself about all of it. And Laird is the person who really gave me the confidence to do that because especially for women, I think it's a little more uncomfortable. Or we push it down, or we mask it, or oh, we'll deal with that later, or they didn't mean that. But to just confront it and whatever it is, and even just to, I'll give you an example. My 17-year-old daughter, um, she's my girls are strong and tough, and my youngest is like she's still in the sparring, constantly sparring. So I went in her room the other day and we were talking. None of it went the way that I wanted. I just wanted to check on her and see how her day was. So I left and I was like, oh God, when is this going to be over? This phase of like just straight bitchiness for sport, right? She's doing her job, she's like pushing, bang, doing all that. And so I thought, you know what? That's not what I wanted. So I walked back in her room, and I'm a very prideful person. And I walked back in her room and I was just like, hey. And she's like, yeah, like, and I go, how was your day? She's like, it was good. And I go, okay, I love you. And I walked out of the door because that's all I wanted her to know. And my normal, because I'm a very stubborn person, prideful self would have been like, I'm not going to do that. But instead, it's like, okay. And then I walked out of the room. I don't need to hang out. Like, I'm not here to be your best friend. Why I came in originally was to check on how your day was and to just let you know I love you. And so it's a dumb thing, but it's even at that level. If I'm even when my kids were young, if I was tired or stressed out and I overreacted, it's like, hey, I know you're 6, but listen, that wasn't cool of me. I'm sorry, and I'll do better.
Mm.
And that's it. Not a whole big thing like mommy wants a 5-step program. It's just like, yo, I blew it. I'm sorry. Because now everything also has gotten so precious. I'm not
Mm.
talking about that. I'm talking about I'm in ownership. And that ownership then gives me permission to go, hey, listen, Emily, we've been doing this project together and I just feel like you're not showing up, or is there something going on, or you're distracted? I'm not going to assume, but I just want to address it, like whatever that is, right? So I think it's also not pre-deciding for the other person what's going on
Mhm.
and confronting them with what I think, because that's the other thing I've learned is that I'm putting my own interpretation of my own story on everybody's thing. And that may not be the thing. So I'm not going to do that. It's just like, hey, I'm noticing this. Maybe you could tell me what's going on. Because you could be like, oh, this bitch, she's lazy and she's not pulling her part. And like, she thinks I'm going to do all the work because I'm, have more experience, blah, 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 all the blah, mind chatter, right? So I think the check in's a lot easier when you get away from the stories. And so I try to avoid the stories.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that like you have gotten really disciplined about when you have time in the car, in the shower, that you're like scanning,
Yep.
are my words, my actions in alignment coming from the place that I want them to come from love, from integrity, from directness, whatever. That it's like I'm not saying one thing and doing another, or feeling one thing and doing another. And then because you've developed that muscle, you can practice it in real time. And inevitably we say things that we don't mean, or say things with a tone that is not what we intended. And it sounds like you have a really quick practice of cleaning that up in real time.
Yeah, because I can be pretty harsh,
Mhm.
and that was something I was insecure about. And my harshness comes from my real personality, but also from fear, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was me allowing, so it was this dual thing where it was actually how I really felt, but also part of it had the edge because of fear. And so, how do I get to honor my real feelings, but I don't need to be defensive or aggressive
Mm.
because that's the same, really,
Yeah.
in order to communicate it, especially when you get into business and especially when you're dealing with young adult children, where you have to still confront them, but yet you can't mommy them. It's this weird thing of like, hey, we need to address this, but I also have to do this in a way that like you have a seat at the table because you're part of this. And so it's been a real exercise, and the more you do it, the easier it is, and the more you give yourself permission to be direct. And I learned this even in coaching. I had a coach that a woman. I had tons of
Like
male
a sports
coaches.
coach or a life coach?
Oh no, athletic.
Hmm.
Same thing in a certain way. Is like, hey, we have this drill, we're doing it, and you start participating, and she would say simply, and I had a male coach that used to do this. Yeah, that's not good enough. It wasn't personal. It's just we're doing this drill, so like work, and this is what needs to happen in order to get out of the drill or the drill to be successful. That thing you just did, that's not good enough. That's feedback. And really learning how to do that in my work life and really lovingly in my personal life. Just saying, like, for example, with my husband, who is really loving, very combative, very direct, very confrontational. He might stomp around, do stuff, whatever. And I'll be like, are you going to keep doing that? Or are you going to stop? Like, is that going to, so I don't even have to get riled up anymore or make it about me, because maybe it's not. But and just learning also to have a little fun with it, because that helps the other person, right?
Okay, and can you give us an example of that? Like, how would you have fun with it if he's
Well,
stomping
if he's just
around?
stomping around and like it's not a real thing, it's like I learned to lean in towards him and put my hand on him versus run away or go on eggshells. And that was my go-to early in our marriage because I didn't learn how to be in that. I didn't know.
Mhm.
And I remember even having a conversation with like, hey, because he's a moody person, less now, but he's certainly moody. That's what part of his magic is, hey, you can be however you want, but you have to create a safe space for me inside the envelope. It can't be you against the world because I'm here. And so once we could figure that out, it's like, how can I figure all those things out at once where you be however you want? I'm not going to tell you how to be, but I need to be allowed to have a space inside your envelope that I'm still with you. And you can
Mm.
stomp around all you want and you're restless and you need waves or whatever your thing is, and that's okay. So I think it's leaning in towards those uncomfortable things without anger or fear or defensiveness,
Mm.
and not trying to tell other people how to live. Even my kids, I'm like, I'll say, hey, here's food for thought. I mean, it's different than a little kid, but here's food for thought. I'm seeing this. You could get this, you could say the same thing over here and get a very different result. So you're getting, because sometimes like you're learning to communicate what you want, how to put up boundaries. And sometimes you can do that gently and avoid a whole other problem than you being snippy and rude. And it's just kind of learning that dance where real strength, I find, is not defensive. It's not attacking. It's so strong that it has that stillness that it's like, oh, I can hear that. Even though it makes me uncomfortable, right? Like, someone says, like, when you do that or act like that, it makes it, and you can feel your ears burning, right? Because you're like, oh, and you just go, oh, okay, I can take a look at that.
Hmm. I'm I would consider myself like a recovering people pleaser and a
Mm,
recovering, yeah, that's the main part. Like, adult child of an alcoholic, like
yeah.
very good at, it's like why I'm so good at my job. Like I can read the room. I know everyone's energy. I know how to anticipate their needs before they even know them. And there's a light side of it. There's a superpower. And the dark
Mm,
side is not speaking my truth, like not even knowing what my truth is, because
yeah.
it's just like, well, whatever you need my truth to be. And so it's really been like a practice. And so I'm so grateful for this wisdom that you're giving, of that the spiritual practice is knowing your truth, speaking the truth, and not only speaking it from a place of power and clarity, not over aggression, not over manipulating yourself, right,
Yeah,
into someone
you don't
else's
need to
reality.
post qualify something to tell someone how you feel. And right before you say it, you can just check and go, is this from love or is this from anger? Yeah, and
Hmm.
fear, like, where is it coming from? And by the way, here's the thing you can say, I feel this way. It doesn't mean I'm right. It
Yeah.
just means I'm feeling this way. And the
Yeah.
other then next is, I'm not attacking you because I feel this way. I'm sharing with you so you understand what's going on with me, what the vibration is. Maybe it's a chance to work it out. Maybe it's a chance to create understanding. And that's the thing that they don't teach us when we're young is these nuances. How do you have two people who are in argument and they're both right? They don't talk about that.
Yeah. Or that conflict can lead to greater intimacy.
Of course.
And that actually, like, I love this idea of like weeding every day, because the faster you have
It's
those
easy.
conversations, just the better everything is in your life.
It's easier. It's
Because
just
it's
so much easier.
expensive. Like not having those conversations is expensive, I find.
It is. And then you lose your way. So a chance that could have been a real short, direct line from here to here to a resolution or an understanding, all of a sudden it becomes a meandering path that how did we get here? And we have all these feelings, but we don't know where it actually has come from. It's come from 10 places and so it gets easier. But this is what I will say about it is just like the physical practice or the eating practice or the meditation practice that you have, it takes work and effort. It takes an awareness. So it can be tiring. The relationship I'm in with my husband is so easy in so many ways, but there's a diligence to it
Hmm.
that creates that easiness. And so people also, it's would you be willing to be thoughtful about all your words every day? And that is hard to do. And I
Mm.
can tell you part of my practice is I am really thoughtful about, even if I said, okay, it's trash day tomorrow, even though Laird's on it, I would never say, did you take the garbage cans out? Because there's also a side of me that knows that that would provoke him, in that it's like, I've been taking the garbage cans out for how many years on a thing. And so people don't even realize. Like, I'm going to try to even think about, if I said this thing, how would that land for you?
Hmm.
And so it's the willingness to say, I want to make it so easy on the other side that I'm going to be particularly disciplined in the front side. Even though I'm tired and I'm irritated, I'm going to be very thoughtful about my words, including with my children.
Mm. And it feels like part of that discipline comes in the regularity of the cleaning up, or the quickness of the
Yes.
conversation. And what I'm seeing is a through line of like with the food. Like, it's fun to eat French fries and ding
Yeah.
dongs and donuts. It's fun. And it requires discipline to like eat the
Yeah.
broccoli first and the protein first. And that creates freedom. And it's the same with the physical practice. Like it creates work and discipline. But my ex-husband actually said that discipline creates freedom.
It does.
And I was like, "Oh," like that was news to me
Well, and
20
it's
years
fun, like,
ago.
Believe me, it'd be fun to lob a bomb once in a while. Like if somebody says something stupid in your house and you could just lob a bomb and it'd be the best 10 seconds. And then it's like,
And I have to
and
clean
sometimes
that
you have in
bomb
your
up.
moment and you're just like, it's not worth it. I don't need, first of all, I don't need to be right. I never, like, there'll be things, well, he could say, well, there's 11. And I go, well, no, I think there's 28. And he'll be like, it's 11, and I'm like, okay. And then he'll be like, oh, it's 28. I'm not a person who's like, I told you. It's like, how do I win there? And these are all small things that accumulate throughout a day. Life is just about all the small things.
Hmm.
And I find that if you're willing to be kind, even when you could choose another, and that doesn't mean everybody's languages are the same. There's couples that they can spar and it's more fun and they can do that. Our house is not like that. We are playful, but it has to be like all above board and like all of that
Yeah, from a
because
place of love.
we're both a little bit probably mean, and so it's like we just stay out of that. You know
Do
what
you
I
have a
mean?
place for that meanness to go? Do you have an
Yeah,
outlet
I
for that
train
aggression?
and I go under the pool for a long period of time. I try to create big goals to pursue, to put that energy into. But meanness, listen, if you said, what are the universal truths? We all know that love is better than the other. It just
What
is.
do you call the other? Fear or me or unkindness? Like, what would
Yeah, I
you say
mean,
is
I
the
think it
other?
all derives from fear, which shows up in a lot of ways for people. Some people, it's anger and manipulation and aggression, and it's like Byron Katie talks about the victim. The victim is violent. It's like all of it. It's like I'm not going to be the victim of my story. I'm going to be as to the best of my ability, and I blow it every day in charge of my words.
Hmm.
I can have fun in my brain. I can like rag on everyone in my house and have a little bit of fun. And then I take, when they talk about stimulus and response, and then I take a moment and I go, who are you trying to be? Have those words reflect that. And what happens also is that when then you really lose your mind or you flip out or you, everybody takes it real serious because it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. I found that when my son was little, like everything was yes. Like I created an environment where it was just yes, 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 that toy, yes, that thing. And then when it was no, it was like he listened
Yeah.
because it was like you're in danger.
Yeah.
So I know you said you meditate a little bit in the morning to
Yeah.
sort of remember that you are not your thoughts. I'm curious, did you ever use meditation or visualization when you were playing or even now with your business success? Like how has the mental, and I know you said like all, sounds like you're in on the joke that it's all a simulation and it's all mental, but I'm curious, like specifically and deliberately, have you used meditation and visualization to contribute to your success?
When I was a lot younger, we used visualization in sport, like see yourself hitting the ball that way, feel winning, all of those things. I wish I had known more about this notion of like it's already happened. We're just sort of going through the motions. It's like tapping into
Do you mean like the success has already happened, it's
y-
inevitable, and now I'm just replaying it?
yes.
Do you think that that's true even if you don't do the visualization? Like even if you don't write that reality, you think it's already predetermined? Or you think that the dreaming of it makes it predetermined?
I think the choices, I think there's sort of like a couple of options ahead of us, and then how what we choose pushes us into one or the other. But if when I was visualizing, I had the belief that it had already happened,
Mm,
that could have been interesting versus feeling it and visualizing it. If I had understood it was for me to be able to receive it as it has happened. I wish I had had that understanding. But nonetheless, I certainly have used it in our business. And um, where I get into trouble is specifics. I think what's really deeply important to me is parts of it are so basic. It's like the well-being of my children and my friends and my family, being healthy, trying to learn and be better, that it's so hard for me sometimes when I'm visualizing in my business because I do think you should visualize specifically. And it's like I yeah, of course I want the businesses to continue to grow and thrive. and to have more market penetration and all of these. But sometimes I feel like I could do better at being more specific. But in that way, sometimes I sort of choose the things that feel the most valuable to me to be that specific about.
Mm. Well, so just this was news to me, and I teach manifestation for a living, and I
Yeah.
just in the last like 2 years learned that there are actually two different types of manifestors.
Okay.
There's what we call it like specific and receptive manifestors.
Mhm.
And specific manifestors actually like get off on the details. Like they can smell the cologne and see the paint color and feel the leather of the steering wheel. Like all like the details turn them on.
Yeah.
And then there's non-specific manifestors or receptive, which is what I am, where it's just like the feeling. Like I
Mm.
don't like right now. I'm wanting to buy a home, and I'm like I can feel it. I can't really see. The only thing I can see is the bathtub, but everything else is just a feeling. I can feel the way the floor feels on my feet, but everything else is just a feeling. Same about my person. Like I'm calling on my person. I don't know what he looks like per se, but
Mm.
I'm curious. Is that what you're saying, that you are like a receptive
Yeah.
manifester?
I feel that way more because in
Mhm.
weird ways you'd think I'm a control freak, but I'm actually not. And
Mhm.
so I'm very good. I'm tough on myself, but then sometimes if I hand off the ball to you, let's say we're working together, and I trust you and have confidence, I don't need to be a micromanager. So I'm
Yeah.
not that person who's like, because I'm trying to think about bigger things or experience bigger things and live my life. And I feel like I can't do that by getting caught up in every single detail. That's where having people that you trust and admire and respect in your life, personal or professional, really is such a gift because it's like, oh,
Mhm.
you've got it, great. I don't need
Yeah.
to get over that. So maybe that's what it is I sort of feel like I know what I want the business to be like and feel like, but I'm not so good at the granular, like I'd like, this many margin, this percent margin and this growth of sales and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it matters, right? As long as it's like you're creating the reality of the things that are important to you, like the margins will take care of
Yeah.
themselves.
And maybe that's what I believe.
Mhm. Yeah, and it sounds like you did that with your career as well, right? Where it was like the the prerequisite is that my family and my life is amazing, right? And
That's right.
so, yeah, I think that's really, really beautiful. So I love how I just want to really double tap on the fact that you are using your words and your intention and these like the way that you interact with humans as your spiritual practice. It's so beautiful because I think a lot of people, especially right now, it's like, well, I'm doing breath work for an hour and a half a day, and I did this darkness retreat, I did ayahuasca 18 times, and like I love all of those things. And if you're a dick to your kids and you won't have a conversation with your sibling and your employees are mad at you, like what was it all for?
Yeah.
And so it's like really translating these spiritual practices into the
Action.
day-to-day interactions. Like this is like an opportunity to be in spirit school all the time.
Well, it is. I joke that I'm quite tall. I'm 6'3", and I joke that I bully everyone to be polite to me. So, I go to the grocery store. I'm out in the real world, and I literally am every person I interact with. It's like, hey, good afternoon, good morning. If I will even put my hand on people's shoulders, male or female, and I've said this a lot. I have permission because I'm a woman. I can put my hand on another female. Men wouldn't have that luxury, and I can certainly do it to a male. And so I have joked many times that I am bullying people everywhere all the time and forcing them to interact with me in all these small exchanges because we can't afford to lose that. We need to stay connected to each other because no matter what I see on TV or online, I know from my personal experience, more people probably feel like me, want what I want, don't hate me. It's like when you move through through your life, you make your own body of evidence based on your
Mhm.
experience because that's very important to me, so that you have personal discernment. So no matter what everybody is telling you, you have your own body of evidence about the way the world is around you, and not, well, I saw it somewhere. It's like, really? that's what you saw? You don't think that maybe that's a theater that's put out there to keep us all away from each other versus mostly, I think, truly, we're probably more connected and more similar than we remember.
Amen. Amen. And thank you for practicing that. Like in a world where you could be like, oh, I don't want people asking for autographs or asking me about this, or, like you could create that barrier for yourself. And instead, you're actively creating that connection
Yeah.
so that you're not so vulnerable to the sort of like zeitgeist and separation that's happening on social media with the algorithmic realities that we're all living in. You're right. I mean, we're like closer to chimps, and I think we have like the same DNA as earthworms. It's just like what, like if we pull the lens way out,
Yeah.
we're pretty similar.
I have a very close friend. I was on the phone with her yesterday, and she was like, it's kind of scary, like she was talking about Trump, right? And I was like, mm-hmm. And she's like, I mean, so weird. And he's, with science. And I go, I understand how you could feel that way. I said, but if we're going to do that, then was it weird that we housed healthy people during COVID? Is it weird that there was a message about it was going to keep you from getting it and giving it didn't? So like, can we just agree that we can throw all of that out and not understand? Like, can we agree that it's always weird? Like, people are making money off it being weird. The fact that you think it's weird, now you're scared, but it's just like, come on. Like, so using health, if we go back to it as an anchor to our sense of sovereignty and sort of the ability to not get pulled here nor there, but to really go, let me take a look at this. Let me question things. Let me not
Mhm.
react to things. Let me not be afraid. I think that if you say to me, "Hey, what's it for?" Yeah, it was great for jumping and hitting a volleyball, but at the end, it's really a tool to help me do those things in my life. Um, and then, you sort of get these other residual benefits.
Mhm. And so, the show is called Why Isn't Everyone Doing This? Why do you think everyone isn't making health a priority?
I have a few answers to that. There's a really talented woman named Beth Lewis. She's a trainer. She worked under Peter Attia for a bit, and now she's sort of on her own. And I asked her that question, and she said, because I think people think they have so much time. Like, oh, I'll start tomorrow, I'll start Monday. And also, we live in a world where it's so extreme. Like, it's either you have to be Men's Health fit kind of thing, or it's commoditized as this thing you do separate from your life versus this too is a part of life, like doing laundry and you know intimate times with your partner and getting dinner and picking up kids and going to work. It too is part of that, and we haven't really successfully found a way. And so if people didn't learn it in their home, because they'll say, "Oh, I inherited my parents' genetics," and I'm like, "No, you inherited their lifestyle."
Mhm.
So if they don't get that training early in home, then you get overwhelmed with life's responsibilities, work, and then you start a family, and then they don't have the tools to know how to do it. So it makes a lot of sense to me why they haven't, but it also becomes a point where it's on us.
Mhm.
We can make all the excuses in the world, and I've said this a lot. At the end, I could be a loving and kind cheerleader and supporter, and then there's a part of me that's like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm not here. Nobody needs to explain themselves to me why they're not doing it. If they don't do it, it's not really going to impact my life, except I'm on the road with you. And if you're pissed and have a short fuse, then okay. But it's really trying to get people from an encouraged position. Hey, can you try? Can you try? Can you try to add this to your flywheel? Um,
Mhm.
I'm still going to be going to bed at 9 o'clock. It's like,
You really go to bed at 9 o'clock?
yeah, pretty
So
much,
sexy.
mostly.
So
Um,
sexy.
but that doesn't mean that's for everybody. It's however you works for you, and that's the point. Like, if you went to bed at midnight, but you go, yo, now I'm going to bed at 11:30. I'm like, that is a win.
Yeah.
So it's that. It's like if you smoke cigarettes, I wouldn't say stop smoking cigarettes. It's like, could you smoke less?
Hmm.
And so I just think it makes a lot of sense. We live in a world where they sell us stuff, and this is part of it. And so it's eaten our bandwidth up to do kind of some of the fundamental stuff, part of living, which is moving and eating well and communing with one another and recovering in bed and things like that. So it makes perfect sense. It's just on us. Because
Mm,
my whole thing is you can't be a victim of your story and can you show yourself grace at the same time? Those things are in tension all the time. Being
mm.
100% accountable and giving yourself some grace. Just if we can travel through life with that, because it's like, yep, I'm going to take ownership of that. I get why I'm not doing it. I'm going to love myself through it, but there's no excuses.
I love that. But actually, I find that if you don't have grace with yourself, then you'll get into like a shame spiral and a guilt spiral that'll keep you frozen. And so that grace is the thing that allows you to actually have the discipline and hold yourself to account because it's
Yeah.
coming from love and acceptance of what is versus like shame and I'm a failure.
Yeah. It's just paralyzing and keeps you in the same behavior. Somebody told me once that guilt's from the devil.
Say more. And do you believe in the devil?
Well, let's say the dark force, the Wetiko, whatever million names you want to give it. There's
Hmm.
absolutely something. It's in us. It's everywhere. It's part of,
Mm,
it's the other side of light. It's the
yeah.
same, it's just the other. And once we realize like, oh, wait a second, this thing I'm experiencing, which is fine, it serves me no purpose. None. None. Guilt and shame serve zero, zero purpose. So you can acknowledge it and be like, oh, I get what this is. How do I show myself grace and be accountable? But at the same time, putting that strategy in place, getting that plan in place so that it's not for naught, right? So that the
Mhm.
grace I showed myself was for a real reason. But the minute the guilt comes, it's like, oh, okay, that's why I always said, like, when I use the word specifically devil, because it becomes more real instead of like, that's dark energy. Yeah, okay, let's get crazy. It's from the devil.
Wow.
It does no good.
Yeah, I had a therapist once that said like guilt is a useless emotion. And then my friend Amber called me out and she's like, guilt actually is just pointing to something that you need to clean up.
That's it.
Which I was thought that was interesting. Like if you're weeding, like then the guilt could be
Yeah,
an indicator of like, oh, is there something that needs to be weeded
yeah,
here? But if it moves into shame and then paralyzes you,
yeah,
like then we're in trouble.
yeah,
And my coach said she was like, oh yeah, guilt is how people don't do the things that they know that they should, but then still feel like they're a good person.
yeah, of
Like if I,
course.
I I ate the cookies, but I feel guilty about it, so I still get to be a good person. I didn't go to the gym, and I feel guilty that I didn't go to the gym, so now I'm still a good person. I
Yeah,
cheated on my husband, but I feel guilty about
so
it,
bad.
so I'm
Yeah.
still a good person.
Well, it's like worrying, right? Worrying just jack all, but it's something to do.
Mm.
But worrying, what's the point?
It's a waste of perfectly good imagination. I love that quote, and also I think that we've like become addicted to worshiping our worries.
Yeah,
And it's why I spend so much time getting people to worship their dreams and like use their pleasure to pray of like, hey, what if you were to spend like oftentimes I'll open my talks and be like, all right, how many people here spent 2 hours yesterday worrying about their biggest fears? And like, 50%. How about
oh yeah,
3 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours? And some like, how about every waking hour of your day were you worshiping your worries?
yeah,
It's like, okay, what if you spent 2 minutes visualizing your dream? 2 minutes and just see what happens.
yeah.
And to your point, it's like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend 8 hours visualizing, but just like a tiny prayer is sometimes enough to just like put the drop of blessed water into the ocean and it changes the frequency of all of the water.
Yeah. And not to
Mm,
be afraid, in the sense of, I think we're taught we're supposed to be all these ways. And so when we're not, we take on this shame or this worry instead of being like, hey, guess what? I'm scared as a parent. I don't have it figured out. Okay.
mhm.
Like not holding it in and being like, I'm so worried and my kid's driving and will she be okay? And will she, it's like, yeah, okay.
Mm.
That is part of the deal. Like, that is so natural, and that's why it is nice to have one person that you can go, "Hey, can I just share a crazy thought with you?"
Yeah.
And then you just go,
Bridge
"Bleh,"
it out.
and then you move on. Laird one time said to me, I went through this thing. I'll give you a quick example. My 29-year-old daughter, who is my stepdaughter, when she was 3, we were all 3 of us in the shower, and I looked at her, and for a second, she looked like her mom. And I was super jealous because I was like, oh, I'm not the first wife. I'm not the first one to give him a kid. Like this whole weird primal psycho bullshit. So we get out of the shower, and I'm probably like 27 or 8 years old. And Laird is in nature quite a bit. He's connected to no emotion. Nothing is uncomfortable for him. And he's like, what's up? He could see in my eyes. And I go, I'm a terrible person. I'm like weirdly jealous of a 3-year-old and and I explained what I was thinking. And he goes, huh, probably pretty natural. And so the point is that all of it's okay. We don't have to take it on ourselves. We just have to find the right people that go, yeah, sometimes me too.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And
Makes
then
sense.
move on though. See, that's the whole thing for me about therapy and all these things. Put it in practice, put it in play. You can't keep circling the drain and it's like at some point, do it a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you change the trajectory 1 degree, like you are altering the course of your life.
Yeah.
And I love that you are doing that in real time with your conversations, with your team, with your kids, with your husband. It's really, really beautiful. I almost feel like I want to change the title of the episode. It's like, why isn't everyone prioritizing health to connect with humans, or like prioritizing their health so that we can have healthier relationships? Because it feels like that's really what you're putting into practice, like using human interaction as a spiritual practice.
I mean, what are we really doing here? I don't really, you know what I mean? Like when we're here, it's like there's lessons to be learned and offloading of things, but I think the only way we do that is through entanglement. And so we got
Mhm.
to get entangled.
Yep, it's a good reminder. I'd be like, oh, let me just transcend, like, let me just get through these relationships. It's like, no, if you're a human and you're not a monk, you're going to still be relating. So might as well get good at it.
And listen, what monks are doing is hard, but I would be my best, most evolved self if I lived in a yurt on a hill by myself too. So, I mean, if you
I,
really
I
want to,
actually disagree, because like you're a householder, like you're meant to be in the world and having sex and having kids and building companies.
no, but you
And
know what I
monks are like,
mean? I see those
yeah, it's
guys
like it's
and
easy to like not be a bitch when no one's talking to you.
yeah, I'm like, I am amazing. It's like, meaning like, here I am, I'm meditating. And I know that is hard in its own other thing because you're connecting to something higher. But I have a running joke that like I could, it's like when my friend used to read Osho and courage and all that. And I was like, oh, F off. Like, does Osho have a kid? Like, talk to me. Is Osho sleep deprived?
I mean, I think Osha's an interesting
Well,
example,
yeah.
but I mean, I think if we were to go with like
Before we knew.
or we knew. But like, let's say a celibate monk, it's like and I actually really am passionate about this because it's just a side note. It's less than 1% of the world's population
Yeah.
that is monastic by nature, and they are celibate by nature, and they're reclusive by nature, and that is their desire. So they're just playing a different game. And the way that they contribute is by meditating and like laundering the collective consciousness. The other 99% of us are meant to be in relation. We want to have sex with people. We want to make money, and it doesn't make us any more or less
No.
holy. It's just, this is our holy practice. It is how we talk to our teenagers. It is how we talk to the barista, and how we, have consequences for our employees. It's like all of it becomes God.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's the other thing is that taking stock in all the small moments and exchanges and words and just really being disciplined in all of those exchanges, it really does build upon, and it creates trust in yourself and trust with others. Not that you're perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but that within it somewhere you're trustworthy.
Well, I'm finding I'm going through a period of really facing my shadow, like in a new way, in a way that I have not before in my life. I'm like, oh, I lied, I stole, I betrayed someone. Like I did these things that I deem unlovable,
Mhm.
and finding ways to like love little Emily, even though she did that. And it's this weird simultaneity that I've never experienced before of like really looking at it. But in looking at it and loving myself anyway, I am trusting myself a lot more. And then so it's like the shame and the fear, like the thing that put it in the shadow to begin with is becoming less in control.
Mhm.
Right. Because like the more you face it, the more resilient it becomes because you're like, oh, I did things and I'm still lovable.
Yeah.
And so interestingly, it's allowing me to clean it up faster and allowing me to trust myself more.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish that I had asked you? Anything that we didn't even talk about Laird Superfoods, which I would love for people to know about because I think it's a beautiful thing that you've created, and I want people to have access to ways to fuel their
Yeah.
bodies and eat real food.
Laird Superfood is a really fun and sort of inspiring element in our lives. It was created by accident about 10 years ago. Laird used to, listen, people were drinking yak butter tea how many years ago? So he always says there's no new ideas. It's just different applications of old ideas. And so he used to make coffees for his friends and put all these great fats in them. And so 10 years ago, we created Laird Superfood. And it's a really beautiful brand in that of course, we don't use artificial, but we don't even use natural flavors, which it sounds silly, but there are so many challenges when you don't use natural flavors in creating products.
Well, can you just be so I just did an interview with Vani Hari, the food
I love
babe.
Bonnie. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did not know this, even though I've been like doing this health game for a long time. I didn't know that natural flavors means 36 different chemicals
Yeah.
designed to make you addicted to foods.
Yeah.
And so if you see natural flavors in something, it is not natural and it's not flavor, it's
No.
chemicals. So is that what you mean? Or are you talking about something different?
No, that's what I'm talking about. And so
Okay.
even like I'll give you a small scenario. Vanilla is the most popular flavor for a creamer. So we have a
Hmm.
coffee and creamer business, but we also do like greens and reds and bars and all these things. So vanilla is the most popular on the market flavor. We couldn't make a vanilla creamer for like 4 or 5 years because there were bad crops in Madagascar. The cost was too high. And so we couldn't make it because we couldn't do the idea was, oh, you just use natural flavoring and get that vanilla taste. But we can't because that's one of our guardrails, nor would we want to.
So in that case, just not to get too granular,
Yeah.
but in that case, what would natural flavors mean if you can't use actual vanilla? It's like a chemical
Yes.
synthetic
A
sublet.
natural of a flavoring of vanilla. And
And like
also
what
it
would
would
that come from? Like
a
what
lab,
would
a food chemist.
right, so just like a concoction of chemicals, we're not sure
Yeah,
which
and
ones.
probably very little compared to artificial, but still,
Yeah.
nonetheless, it would be breaking the rules.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, the thing I most appreciate about the business besides the ingredients, we have adaptogens and everything. We even put shilajit for a while in our greens. Like it is the fact that it's successful and we're playing by the rules. Like my
Mhm.
hope is that the business is so successful and we did it by playing by the real rules.
Yes. Yes. And
Like,
which means and what are those rules? Like integrity,
well,
health, like
number
what
one is
can you
always ingredients, right?
Mhm.
So as close to food as we're able to do it, um, you know, avoiding hard seed oils, and all those things create mouthfeel and fat and all these things. So using the high level ingredients, trying to make everything taste good because no one will use it if it doesn't. It's not a positive experience, but also keeping costs down. Both Laird and I grew up in the Virgin Islands. Laird grew up on Kauai. We didn't grow up with anything. And how we live is we're around a lot of people where you start to realize, oh, is health supposed to be something that only a few people can afford?
Mhm.
And that doesn't interest us. And so it's how do we try to do this, as cost effectively as possible? And my whole thing is because I am competitive, I'm not going to mess around. I do want to win, but I want to see if we can win. Could we play this game and win even by playing by our real rules? It's like I tell
Mhm.
my girls, like, live by the big rules in life and break all the small BS ones that men make. Like, and I don't mean man, like humans
Yeah.
make. Live by the big rules, question and break all the small ones. And for me with Laird Superfood, It is an extraordinary brand. We have so many incredible products. It's a creative outlet for both of us. I've learned a ton about food and food science that I wouldn't have thought about. But the whole idea is, can we win, um, and do it without bending in the wrong ways?
Mm. I mean, it sounds like in some ways you've already won. Like you've already taken the company, you've already IPO'd, you've taken it public. So like
Yeah.
what's winning look like now?
Just a bigger market penetration, and
Mm.
this idea of like a householding person, a regular person who doesn't know Laird from a hole in the wall, who isn't necessarily going to run a triathlete on the weekend, has substituted an everyday practice for an everyday practice that's just a little more supportive of their health.
Okay, so instead of like the coffee mate creamer that's just
Yes,
like synthetic
that's it.
chemicals, they're using Laird Superfood and
Every
feeding
day
their brain
in their
instead of
way.
toxifying.
Right,
Yeah.
because I have, like, mocha creamer pumpkin spice, I have matchas and chais, so if I have non-coffee drinkers. So the whole idea is going back to, for you, your lifestyle, your practice, how do you make it work for you? And can we offer you something that you go, "This is how I use my Laird Superfood." That for me would be a really big win, because I do really believe in the brand, and both Laird and I are not people who, we don't even work with other companies that we don't wouldn't use the products ourselves. So you can imagine this is our company. It's a whole other level. But it's been such a gift. It's a lot of work. And there's
What's your role? What's your role in Laird's role? Like, are you like CEO, COO? Like,
No, no,
what's your
no. You
title?
need real grown-ups with it. When you have a publicly traded company at this point, you better have like guys that are real grown-ups.
Or
And
girls?
there's reporting and boards and all that. So at this
Yeah.
point, we're there's three co-founders, we're two of the three, and now we're sort of into innovation. So it's what we know is going to be a trend because we kind of live in this space. So it's asking for new products, and it's incredible what I get these little bags and they go like, okay, here's your whatever tea or coffee or, ketone something. Like, they really always so cool. Can we make the margins work? Can we, shelf stability? And so storytelling, marketing, and then food and, product SKU innovation, I would say is sort of our role. We have real adults now in the company. Thank God.
Great. Good for you.
Yeah, no, otherwise, I mean, people that are so smart, you're like, "I really thank you for being my teammate." Going back
Uh,
to teammates.
yeah, I am calling that in. I'm so excited to attract like the most brilliant CEO that is
Yes.
just like ready for scaling. And I can just be like the sex witch that's just like
Yeah,
visioning the future.
yeah. Because you
Yeah.
can't believe what's intuitive to them. Like, "Oh, yeah, we gotta check the dude," and it wouldn't, you could go to school for 5 years and it wouldn't occur to us.
Yeah, and, like, what it costs me energetically is, like, not worth it, so
Oh,
really
no.
excited for, calling that in. Oh, wow, Gabby Reece, you were such a delight. You were so it's so beautiful to swim in your consciousness, like, the simultaneity of integrity and kindness and deliberateness with your words, but letting spirit use you as a vessel, and what you've created in your life, is very, very inspiring to me, and I'm sure to so many people who are listening. If people want to learn more about you and more about Laird Superfood, where should we send them? Where should they go?
They can go to lairdsuperfood.com, has all the products, and then I'm at Gabby Reece, in all ways. I just wanna also remind people that when we look at other people and we see them in our definition of success, it's just doing it your way. My way is different than your way, and your way is different than my way. And just to encourage people, my hope is to encourage people that they're trying to find the ways that they're doing it that reflects them.
Mhm.
Because I think we're scared to do that. It is scary, and we're not encouraged really to do that. And I think at the end, that's the only way you have those moments of satisfaction,
Mm.
is because it's happening your way. And that seems, for me at this point in my life, that's what I could hope for everyone.
Well, I think I heard you say on another podcast where you said, I'm like my way means like I've done something that I am proud of. Like I am impressed with myself. I feel like even if no one else likes it,
Yeah.
I like it.
Good.
And I really took that to heart because it's like if you're doing something for external validation, that might never come. But if you are proud of the creation, then
Yeah.
then the divinely inspired project has
Is a win.
yeah, it's a win.
And even if you get the attention, it's not sustainable. So what are you going to do? Go for the next thing to try to get the next bit of attention? I don't know that that works so well.
It's just a hungry ghost gets hungrier over time.
Yeah.
Wow. If you could leave people with, like, if you could install one code into the entire species, like change the DNA code, what would that be?
Well, I think it's just we've departed from our nature. And so it's like we're playing a game. Like I'm driving in cars and flying in planes and eating packaged food. Like it's weird. Like sometimes step way back and be like, oh, I am in a game right now. And and that's why I feel like the relationship with ourselves um, is is certainly an important starting point.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, the one I've studied a lot under Byron Katie and checked out a lot of her stuff, and there's a lot in there that makes sense as far as questioning my own stories.
I feel that transmission, you know, like the way that you question it all, but then really trust yourself
Yeah,
simultaneously. Like the questioning actually alleviates the wobble, it doesn't create more of it. And I can feel her transmission in you. So bravo on doing the work.
yeah. Well, she's that resonated with me because it's like that opportunity of like, is that true?
Yeah.
And I know I can't possibly live in the truth all the time, but the idea of truth is one of the most compelling to me.
Hmm.
I find it so compelling if there was an essence of something or a truth about something. That for me feels worthy.
I just learned that truth is actually a higher vibration even than love.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, isn't that
Authenticity,
fascinating?"
right?
Next was like, "Oh, it's magnetic." It's like, I want more of it. I want more of it.
Yeah.
I think that's why one of the reasons why you're so magnetic is like your ability to speak the truth with love.
Well, I'm working
Mm,
on it.
doing a great job. And also, side note, I'd love to gift you Ziva online if that feels charming. Like it
Thank
sounds
you.
like you got the mental game really handled, but it's
I
just
have
15
nothing
minutes a day.
handled.
You're doing well, then you're doing
No.
a great job.
Listen, I wake up every day and I say, I'm going to try. I don't have anything handled.
Mm, mm. I think what I'm saying is like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the way that you connect with source and then translate that into your 3D reality is really beautiful. And I am very passionate about this practice and it's changed my life so much. And if I might fan your flame
I would love
or
it.
help the good that you're doing in the world, I would love to do that and just like, you know, help you shine even brighter.
I would love it.
So great. I'll send it over. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your
Thanks.
wisdom. Thank you for your generosity of spirit. And I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person someday very soon.
Thank you. And good luck with everything. I'm excited.
You
Maybe the next
too.
time I talk to you, it'll be like, guess what's happening over here?
I got my CEO. My son is eating food for food. I
Yeah.
love it. And you'll be like, I'm meditating twice a day.
Yeah.
We won. We won Laird Super. Like we've been the benchmark for how food companies produce their food and create profit margins, like
Yeah.
in integrity. And so it is.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabby. Have a
Okay.
beautiful day.
Aloha.
All right.